been trying to film some of my archery hunts recently, and I was originally set up with this, which is basically a stabilizer adapter that has a camera mount coming right off the front of it, and it has its advantages. I did like using it, but it also has its disadvantages that really made me want to switch to a camera arm. And instead of going out and buying one, I decided to make my own out of wood. Basically completely made out of wood, nuts and bolts, a few screws and glue. That's it. If you have basic woodworking skills, you can handle this project also. But before I go into how to make the project, I want to do a little bit of a review of each method, because it might give you a better idea of what you might want to do if you're planning on filming your hunts. First, for the stabilizer mount, the first advantage is that it attaches right to your bow. That means you can just grab your bow, grab your camera, and you're basically ready to film right there. You don't have to take any other equipment out in the woods. You can switch tree stands without too much trouble. You just grab your bow, switch a tree stand, and you're still able to film in that tree stand. That's really nice. The second advantage is that it attaches right into where your stabilizer would go. So I've seen some that attach off the side of your sight or whatever, but this one is not, bulky at all on your bow. It's kind of natural there, same as if a stabilizer was on your bow. So it doesn't limit you while you're walking through the woods. You're not hitting it off of limbs and stuff like that. And when especially like when you're in a tree stand and you turn around and have to take a shot, kind of with the tree right in front of you, you can still aim and take shots that are very close to the tree without, say, a camera mount that would be right here banging off the tree. So that's really nice. Another thing is that because it attaches right into your stabilizer, it's lined up perfectly with your sights. So as soon as you aim your bow, your camera is aimed right at the target. So those are some good advantages of this system here. Some of the disadvantages are, I've noticed when I was out in the woods, I was filming a deer coming in at 80 to 100 yards, and I have to hold my bow that whole time. It's kind of shaky at 100 yards. Even just holding a camera, you can't really hold a camera steady at 100 yards. So, you don't get the best quality video from that. Another disadvantage is that when I'm watching hunting videos, I love watching the arrow fly and hit the deer, or the bullet hit the deer, see where it hit. With this system, as soon as you fire your bow, you got a bunch of vibration that's transferred right into your camera, and you're not going to be able to see that shot. So if you're unsure of where that arrow hit, you've probably seen the videos of professional hunters. They'll go back and say, hey, we reviewed the footage, and we know it was a good shot, so we're going to go look for it now, or we know it wasn't such a good shot, so we're going to wait for it to bleed out all night. So, it can give you some really good insight into how quickly you should go track it, and how well your shot was, basically. So this system won't really allow for that. So the advantages and the disadvantages of the camera arm are basically opposite the stabilizer mount. You're not going to be able to transfer this from tree stand to tree stand very easily. You're not going to be able to walk stalking on the ground, hunting and filming with this. It could get in the way of some of your shots up in your tree stand if it's extended right over top and a deer walks directly underneath of it. And it doesn't aim itself, so you're going to have to handle aiming the camera, then picking up your bow, and being able to aim the camera, draw, and then shoot the deer. So you might miss some of those shots using this. But the advantages are that it is going to be stable. You're not going to have any shaky videos, and you are going to get those arrow flight shots and the arrow placement shots. So for me, I think the advantages of the camera arm outweigh the disadvantages. So that's why I decided to make one, and I'll go through how I made this so you can have a better idea just to, if you want to make one yourself or if you want to go out and buy one. So to start, I put this post on, so basically that just fixes to the tree, and I plan on ratchet strapping it to the tree, but you could drill holes in it and fix it, screw it right to the tree. That'll work. Then I come up to this kicker, which is pre-drilled down through that into this piece, pre-drilled, put a lag through there and glued this joint, so that's a really sturdy joint. The next part is my first pivot on my first arm, and that's just a bolted joint, bolt and a nut with a washer on the bottom, and I basically tightened it to the point where I was happy with how much friction there was between the two pieces of wood, and then Loctited that nut in place, because when I was moving it around the first time without it Loctited, that nut was loosening, and I don't want that. So then we come over to our next joint, and basically same idea, and it has a Loctited nut on the bottom of this also. Then we come over to basically the mechanisms of any tripod, any camera tripod. If you look at one of those, you'll be able to see how I designed this. So this is again a lag through here, pre-drilled, and glue on this joint as well. And then obviously before I did that, I put this piece in a lathe and made a dowel on the end of it. These pieces right here, this dowel and this hole, have to be pretty precise. So all the holes that I drilled, I used a drill press. I did not do freehand on any of it. But you want this precise because you have to have a pretty tight fit here. And after I drilled the hole, I cut a relief cut here and then drilled a hole through here, and as soon as I put that nut and bolt on there and started cranking it down, I can tighten or loosen that, and that will tighten or loosen my pivot on here. So this point allows me to pivot left and right, pan left and right, and then the next one, same idea, allows me to change my elevation. Then basically the last thing I did was I put a screw through here and glue on this joint as well for a handle and my camera mount, which I will unscrew and kind of show you how I did that. So I countersunk this hole right here and then hammered that nut in there, but I also ground off the threads so that when this comes up through that nut, it spins, and it will continue to spin without tightening that nut or that bolt in anymore. The block underneath is just basically a spacer, so that when I put my camera on there and I start to spin that, as it tightens down on the camera threads, it will pull up on the bolt, and then the block actually allows the camera to tighten down. So that's the basic idea. Not much to it. I put some wax in all these pivot points so it reduces noise and allows it to pivot a little bit easier. Like I said, this is very basic woodworking skills. I ripped all the pieces to the same thickness, and if you don't have a lathe, you can do this part basically by buying stock dowels and then fixing them into a block of wood like this. You just want to make sure it's sturdy and make sure everything's perfect. It's really pretty simple stuff. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up if you did, and stay tuned for some of my hunting videos that should be coming through soon. Thanks for watching.